loggers, welcome back to Liminal Logs. I just want to say, I love doing this. Making these stories, building this creepy little universe for you all. It's honestly something I'm proud of. The dream is to make this a full-time thing one day. But for now, we're still on the way up. So, if you enjoy what I do and want to see more, hit like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and most importantly, share the videos with your friends. Let's push this channel to 1,000 loggers together. Let's dive into today's story. Before I begin, if you're watching this video, make sure you stay until the end, because I'm actually working on a short horror film based entirely on what you're about to hear. Every scene you're imagining right now will be recreated, shot for shot. If you want to see Brightville High brought back to life, or whatever version of it survived, you're not gonna want to miss it. All right, let's start. This is part 1. Just the beginning. Just the reason I ever decided to go back. This is where all of it started. You know that strange moment in life when nostalgia hits you so hard you can almost taste it? Not the good kind, not the soft kind, but the type that claws up from somewhere deep in your chest, dragging memories with it you didn't even know you kept. That's what it felt like. It came out of nowhere. A random Thursday night, gray sky, cold air, boring as hell. I was scrolling through my phone, half asleep, deleting old photos, and suddenly, there it was, a blurry picture of me and some old classmates standing in front of the main entrance of Brightville High. Fresh uniforms, plastic smiles, backpacks way too heavy for our spines. The building looked huge back then, majestic even. Like some massive concrete guardian watching over our little teenage lives. Seeing that picture, something in my brain just snapped awake. Like a switch I didn't know existed. It was the hallway smell I remembered first. That weird mix of industrial cleaner, old wood, and those cheap cafeteria waffles they sold every morning. I swear I could smell it again, like it never left me. Then came the faces, teachers I hadn't thought of in years, friends I thought I'd forgotten, and the building itself. Its long corridors, the sound of doors slamming, that echo of sneakers on linoleum floors. All of it hit at once. And before I even realized what I was doing, I was scrolling through Google Maps, typing in Brightville High, not because I planned to go there. Not yet. Just because I wanted to see it. Maybe stare at satellite images of the football field. Zoom in on the front gate. Check if it still looked the same. But the weirdest thing happened. There was nothing, not temporarily closed, not renovated, not permanently shut down. just nothing. Like it had been erased. Like the school never existed in the first place. As if Brightville High had been swallowed whole. Like it got wiped out of the town's memory. Wiped out of the world. At first I laughed. Maybe the school changed names. Maybe Google Maps was being weird again. But then I tried searching the town records, old articles, news archives, and still nothing. Brightville High didn't come up anywhere. No yearbook scans, no reunion pages, not even a mention in old school district documents. As if the place that shaped my entire teenage life had been completely erased. That bothered me more than it should have. And the more I thought about it, the deeper that nostalgia dug its claws in. I kept thinking about the classrooms, the cracked tiles in the science lab, the faded murals in the gym, the teacher who used to yell at us for running in the halls, the way the sunlight used to hit the stairwell windows at 8 a.m., making everything glow orange. I remembered sneaking to the old playground after school, the one with the rusted swings and the blue slide nobody used because it shocked you with static every time. I remembered myself in that place. A version of me I hadn't seen in so long I barely recognized him. A version frozen in time somewhere inside those walls. And that thought, that weird, heavy, nostalgic ache, kept growing until it didn't feel nostalgic anymore. It felt urgent, like something was calling me, inviting me back, pulling at me, demanding I return. I told myself it was just curiosity, just a need for closure, just wanting to see how much the place changed, to walk through the old courtyard again, to maybe sit on the bleachers and let the past wash over me. But deeper than that, below the surface, something else was moving. A whisper, too soft to notice at first, buried under memories and feelings I didn't understand. A whisper that sounded almost like, "Come back. We're still here. We've been waiting." I brushed it off as imagination. But I kept thinking, why was there no record of the place? Where did it go? Why did everyone pretend it never existed? By the time the sun came up, the decision was already made. It felt inevitable. Like I didn't choose at all. Like the choice was made for me. I needed to see Brightville High again. With my own eyes. No matter how long it had been, no matter how much the town had changed, I needed to go back. And so the next morning, without telling anyone where I was going, I grabbed my camera, packed a backpack, and stepped out of my apartment, not realizing this trip would be the last thing I'd ever do alive. When I finally stepped outside with my backpack and camera, the morning felt colder than it should have been for that time of year. Not freezing, just hollow. Air that didn't breathe back. Air that felt like nobody else was breathing it with me. I brushed it off as nerves, just nostalgia messing with me. Just the anticipation of seeing a place I hadn't walked toward in over a decade. Brightville High, my old school. A place that shouldn't have been so hard to find, but somehow was. I got into my car, turned the engine on, and let it idle for a minute while I tried to remember the old route. The road should have been simple. Turn left past the gas station, drive 2 miles. Take the gravel road behind Miller's farm and follow it straight. I used to walk parts of it every day. I could have done it blindfolded as a teenager. But now, when I pictured it in my mind, it felt wrong. Like a memory that wasn't shaped the way I remembered it. Not blurry, distorted. Like someone had rearranged the path over the years. Whatever. I put the car in drive and pulled out. The road that didn't want to be found. The first stretch through town was easy. Same shops, same streets, same old houses with the same peeling paint. But once I passed the gas station, everything changed. The road beyond it, the one that used to extend straight out toward Brightville, was gone. Not blocked. Not under construction. Not rerouted. Gone. Grass had grown over where asphalt used to be. Tall grass, too, reaching up to my knees when I stepped out to check. The road wasn't damaged. It was erased, as if nature had crawled over it and swallowed it whole. I checked the map again. It showed nothing, just blank green, like the road had never been there in the first place, like Brightville High never existed. But my mind, my memory, knew exactly where it had been. So I climbed back into my car, inched it closer to the grass, and followed the ghost of where the road used to be. The ground was bumpy, uneven. Grass scraping the underside of the car, dirt replacing pavement. But the farther I drove, the thicker everything got. Shrubs, branches, trees. The forest hadn't just grown. It had reclaimed, like it had reached out of the earth and pulled everything back into itself. Soon I couldn't drive anymore. The trees grew too close to each other, forming a barrier like ribs of an animal. So I parked, killed the engine, and stepped out. The silence hit instantly. That unnatural, heavy silence you only hear deep in forests far from roads and people. Except I wasn't far. Not yet. This was the outskirts of town. But it felt like I'd stepped into another world. A world Brightville High didn't want anyone returning to. into the green. I walked for what felt like an hour, my camera recording the entire journey, its little red light blinking steadily. At first, the overgrowth felt normal, annoying but normal. Branches snapping against my jacket, leaves brushing my arms, roots tripping me. But then I noticed something strange. There was no wildlife, no birds, no insects, no squirrels, nothing. Just windless trees and a dirt path being slowly eaten by nature. And every time I looked behind me, the path seemed a bit different, like the trees had shifted slightly, like the forest was closing in. I tightened my grip on the camera and kept pushing forward, telling myself if I just kept going straight, eventually the forest would break open and I'd see the old school building. I kept walking and walking and walking. The forest got thicker. The smell of earth, leaves, and something damp turned heavy. The air got darker, as if the sun was struggling to get through the canopy even though it was still midday. And then I saw something, just barely visible through the trees. Something white, familiar, rectangular. My breath hitched. It looked like a sign, an old school sign, the kind that would have had bright red letters spelling out Brightville High. I forced my way through the branches to get closer, but when I reached it, it wasn't a sign. It was a broken piece of metal, bent, rusted, barely recognizable. Faded paint on the surface looked like letters once existed there, but now they were gone, scratched off, eaten away. I ran my fingers over the metal, cold, rough, old. I whispered to myself, "Why is everything gone?" No answer. Just the forest breathing quietly around me. Something watches. I kept walking, heart pounding, camera pointed ahead. That's when the air changed, became heavier, quieter. Not natural quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when something is watching you, when something is hiding, when the forest itself is holding its breath. I felt it, not saw it, felt it, a presence somewhere behind me, somewhere above me, somewhere crawling between the trees, just out of sight. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I kept walking, kept filming, kept breathing too fast. Then something snapped a branch behind me. A heavy step, slow, measured. I spun around. Camera shaking. Nothing, just trees, empty forest, windless leaves, but I knew something was there, watching, waiting. I swallowed hard and muttered to the camera, "If I find the school, I'm leaving immediately. This place isn't right." And then, through the trees up ahead, I saw it. Not the school, not the building, not anything man-made, but a shape. Something dark, something tall, standing perfectly still about 40 meters away. My heart almost stopped. I couldn't see its face, couldn't see its arms, couldn't see details. Just a silhouette pressed between the trees, unmoving, wrong, as if the forest had grown something that should not exist. I blinked. The shape was gone, but the feeling wasn't. The feeling of being watched tightened its grip. And that was when I realized something horrifying. The forest wasn't silent anymore. It was listening to me, to my steps, to my breathing, as if waiting for me to go just a little further, as if waiting for me to find something, or for something to find me. The missing school. Finally, after another 20 minutes of pushing through the overgrown path, the trees opened, the ground leveled, and I stepped out into a clearing. This should have been it. This should have been where Brightville High stood. Right here. Right in this exact spot. But instead, there was nothing, just grassy hills. A gravel sand path winding lazily through the clearing. A few wildflowers and a small abandoned playground, half sunk into the earth. No school, no ruins, no foundations, nothing. Like Brightville High had been lifted out of the ground, completely removed, as if erased from existence. I whispered, "What the hell?" My voice cracked. My hands shook. None of this made sense. I spun slowly, camera recording everything. Just nature, pure, untouched, as if no building had ever stood here. And then, in the distance, barely visible through tall grass, I saw something strange, something dark, something not natural, a hole. Right in front of a massive tree, a perfectly round hole in the earth, deep, impossible, as if something had been pulled down into it. My camera flickered once, twice, static rising across the screen. Something in me whispered, "Don't go, don't get closer." But the curiosity, or nostalgia, or the thing calling me here, pulled me forward. Without thinking, without stopping, without realizing how dangerous it was, I walked toward the hole, and everything in the forest went silent again. The moment I stepped over the lip of the hole, the temperature dropped. A soft, cool draft brushed up from the darkness below. Not cold enough to be threatening, but cold in a way that didn't feel natural. Like the air had been sealed down there for decades, waiting for breath, waiting for movement. I aimed my camera down the concrete staircase and swallowed. My own voice sounded too loud. "All right, I'm going down." I don't know why I said it out loud. Maybe I wanted to hear a human voice before the earth swallowed me whole. The first steps. As soon as my foot hit the top step, my camera began artifacting. Little pixel flashes, warped lines, colors bleeding. It wasn't broken. I had recorded with this camera hundreds of times. It had never glitched like this. The staircase descended far deeper than any school basement should ever go. The walls were smooth concrete, cracked in places, dripping occasionally with cold moisture. As I went down, a strange echo followed my steps. Not a normal echo. It returned too slowly, delayed, like the stairwell was far deeper than it looked. Like the sound traveled miles before coming back. I kept checking behind me, even though I saw nothing every time. But the moment I turned away, the light from above dimmed more, until eventually there was no light at all behind me, only black. My camera's faint light became the only thing keeping the staircase real. The first landing. After what felt like 10 minutes of descending straight down, the stairs opened into a wide concrete platform, and there, carved into the wall, half covered in dust, I saw it. Brightville High, lower campus access. I froze. My breath caught. This wasn't graffiti. This wasn't added later. This carving had been here for a very, very long time. Decades. Maybe longer. I touched the letters with my fingertips. Cold. Too cold. As if the concrete remembered something it shouldn't. My chest tightened. A huge metal door stood to the right, slightly ajar. Dust on the floor had been disturbed. Footprints, multiple sets. Old enough to blend into the floor, faded, but unmistakably real. People had been here, not just one. Not just recently. A long time ago, but long enough that the dust looked like a soft gray carpet. I followed the path with my shoe. The dust broke easily. These weren't animal prints. These were human. Dozens, hundreds, all going into the school, none returning. The underground courtyard. The moment I pushed the door open, my camera light revealed a massive open underground chamber. And there it was. Brightville High. the front facade, the exact front of the school I attended, buried under the earth like someone gently lowered it here. The brick walls were cracked, windows shattered, dust lay thick on every surface. Old bulletin boards lay on the ground. A toppled trophy case rested against the wall, its glass broken. The courtyard was silent, not dead silent. A silence that hummed, that vibrated just under hearing range, like the building itself was breathing very slowly. The air smelled like dust, mold, and something metallic. I stepped toward the front doors. They were both wide open, almost welcoming. I whispered, "This can't be real." My voice echoed around the concrete chamber and vanished much too fast, as if something sucked the sound straight out of the air. The main hallway. Inside the school looked exactly as I remembered, and nothing like it at all. Lockers ran down both sides of the hall, some dented, some hanging open, some shut tight. Old posters clung to the walls. School play flyer, math club announcement, anti-bullying week, a faded "Go Tigers" banner peeling from the ceiling. My steps echoed sharply, too sharply, like the hallway was empty and enormous and listening. A torn backpack lay near the wall, half buried in dust. I nudged it with my shoe. Nothing inside, just scraps of moldy fabric. The deeper I walked, the more distorted the air felt. The lights overhead flickered sporadically, running on some unknown, impossible power source. My camera picked up intermittent sound glitches, pops, static, short bursts of interference that didn't match any environment I'd ever filmed in before. The classrooms. I opened the first classroom door on the left. The room was empty, completely abandoned. Desks overturned, chairs broken, glass on the floor. The whiteboard still had faint marker scribbles on it. Chapter 6. Test next Thursday. Don't forget to bring your assignments. Brightville strong. My skin crawled. This writing felt too fresh, as if preserved, as if untouched, as if no time had passed. I walked between the desks. Every step left clear tracks in the dust. I whispered, "Why is everything still here?" The fluorescent light above me flickered on and off, humming unnaturally. I hurried back to the hallway. It felt safer there, but it wasn't. The sound. I was halfway down the corridor when I heard it. A soft sound, so faint I almost thought it was my imagination. Not footsteps, not voices, not breathing. Something else, a distant, hollow clank. Metal hitting metal, echoing from the far end of the hallway. I froze. My camera seized for a split second, glitching backward a few frames. Another clank. Then a faint, dragging noise. Then silence. I whispered to the camera, "I think something's down here, or maybe something collapsed. I don't know." But even as I said those words, I knew the building wasn't collapsing. The sounds weren't structural, they were deliberate, slow, measured, almost rhythmic, but still too far away to identify. I forced myself onward. The gymnasium. When I pushed the old gym doors open, dust billowed out in a massive cloud. The gym floor looked warped, cracked in places. Basketball hoops bent downward, bleachers half rotted. Old banners hung from the walls. District Champions 2009, Brightville Pride, Tournament of Stars. I raised my camera and swept across the room. For a moment, everything seemed still. Then the audio spiked with a faint crackle, like someone whispering through static. I whipped around. Nothing, just empty bleachers. Empty court, empty gym. But the static persisted, soft, inconsistent, like a radio picking up a faraway signal. I stood there for a long moment, just listening, trying to convince myself it was electrical noise. But there was no power down here, none. At least none that should still be working. The feeling of being observed. I went back into the hallway. The dust had shifted. My footprints were there, but beside them, something else. Marks in the dust. Not footprints. Not shoe prints, just disturbances. Long strokes. Little swirls. As if something had been dragged across the floor lightly. As if something brushed past. Quietly, following me without making sound. I knelt down and touched the marks. Fresh. Too fresh. Something had been here minutes ago, maybe seconds, and the silence grew heavier, thicker, suffocating. Every instinct told me, don't stay here. Move. Go. Keep going. So I got up, turned the corner, and kept exploring deeper. The cafeteria. The cafeteria looked wrong. Wrong because of how empty it was. Wrong because of how intact it was. No broken tables. No vandalism. No decay strong enough to explain the state of everything else. It looked like everyone left in the middle of lunch and just never came back. A tray lay in the middle of the floor, forks scattered neatly, chair slightly pulled out as if someone had half stood up. I raised the camera to zoom into the far table, and the lens flickered white for a split second. A glitch. Just a glitch. I lowered the camera and checked the table with my eyes. Nothing. Just dust. I told myself the glitch was digital interference from being underground. But deep inside, a quieter voice whispered, "Something was sitting there a millisecond ago," and the camera almost captured it. I forced myself to breathe slowly. "I'm just imagining things," I whispered. The building didn't answer. It just breathed back with cold, stale air from its vents. The quiet before the real horror. By the time I reached the back hallway, my nerves were shot. The school felt impossibly large. Like the underground version had grown longer hallways, new wings, new paths. Every locker I passed creaked. Every classroom door rattled softly. But there was still no creature. No footsteps behind me. No direct threat. Just that heavy pressure. That feeling of being watched, of something always right behind the corner, moving an instant before I turned. Every so often, a faint metallic clank echoed from far away, or what sounded like a distant locker slamming, or the squeak of an old table shifting. Sounds with no visible source. Sounds that seemed to wait until I was filming. Sounds that didn't follow human rhythm. But no creature yet. Just emptiness. Just loneliness. Just a school that should not exist under the earth. Waiting for something or someone. Maybe me. When I finally decided I had explored enough and tried to go back, the entrance hallway was gone, vanished, replaced with a completely different corridor. Same lockers, same lights, different structure. Brightville High had rearranged itself. It didn't want me to leave. I whispered, okay, it's fine. I just need to keep looking, find the way. But deep inside I knew the school was alive. The school was listening, and it was not done with me. I don't know when exactly the school decided that I didn't deserve an exit anymore. Maybe from the moment I stepped underground. Maybe from the instant nostalgia dragged me back. Or maybe the school never cared why I came, only that I had. But by the time part 4 ended, I wasn't exploring Brightville High anymore. I was sinking into it, like the building was a stomach and I was sliding deeper into its throat. The hallways weren't just rearranging, they were tightening, and every step I took, every breath I dared to make, the structure reacted, watched, adjusted, as if preparing something, as if waiting. The hallway that bent. I tried to stay calm, tried to keep track of my steps. Left, right, straight, left. I repeated it in my head like a mantra. But as I walked, something in my peripheral vision shifted. The hallway walls, they were no longer straight. They were curving, bowing inward, not visibly moving, but bending, reshaping themselves the moment I turned my back. I ran my hand along the wall as I walked. Concrete, cold, solid, but every few meters the texture changed. Smooth concrete became rough brick. Brick became metal paneling. Metal turned to old damp drywall. The school was shedding its skin, showing different layers of itself, or different versions, or different memories. The room without walls. I reached a doorway. Classroom 118. The sign was crooked, rusted almost in half. I pushed the door open. Inside was dash. Nothing. Not emptiness. Not furniture. Not darkness. Just nothing. No floor. No walls. No ceiling. Only a vast black space that swallowed the light from my camera. A void, absolute and silent, like a piece of reality had been ripped out. I leaned forward, just enough to angle my camera. The moment the lens crossed the threshold, the audio spiked hard. A deep, low-frequency rumble like a monstrous heartbeat. I jerked the camera back. The rumble stopped instantly. I backed away, heart pounding. Whatever that room was now, it wasn't meant to be entered by anything human or anything alive. The first real sound. I kept going deeper into the school, hoping to find a stairwell, a maintenance room, a hatch, dash. Anything that wasn't more hallways designed to trap me. That's when I finally heard it, the first undeniable sound. Not a structure settling, not distant metal, not air through vents. Something soft, something alive, a dragging sound. Shk, shk, shk. Like something heavy was being pulled across linoleum. I froze, held my breath. The sound stopped. I turned the camera down the hallway. Nothing. Just flickering lights. Locker doors shifting slightly in a draft that didn't exist. I lowered the camera. Shh. Again, closer this time. The dragging wasn't random. It wasn't a shuffle. It was rhythmic, like something walking with a long limb, or pulling something behind it. But I didn't see anything, and that was somehow worse. The walls began to listen. I pressed on, trying to keep my breathing steady. The walls felt closer, not physically, but mentally, like they were leaning in to hear me. Every time I swallowed, I swear the hallway swallowed with me. Every exhale echoed back softer, as if something was inhaling what I breathed out. I whispered, "Hello?" The school whispered back, not with words, with the lights. They flickered once, then twice, then all at once. A cascading ripple of darkness rolling down the corridor, swallowing everything for half a second before the fluorescence flared back to life. My skin crawled. The lights weren't failing, they were blinking, communicating, reacting, answering. The gym again. I turned a corner and found myself stepping into the gymnasium again, but this version wasn't the one I saw earlier. This gym was darker. The bleachers were missing rows. Half the banners were gone, leaving only the rusted hooks where they once hung. The scoreboard lay shattered across the floor, and the faintest echo of children laughing, far, far away, drifted through the air. Not real, not fresh, not possible. Memories. Echoes, something replaying the past like a broken film reel. I raised the camera. The lens trembled. Static crawled along the edges. For a fraction of a second, I thought I saw movement in the corner of the screen. A shadow that didn't match any object in the gym. Tall, thin, standing just a little too still. I blinked and checked with my own eyes. Nothing. Just dust. But my hands were trembling now. I couldn't deny the feeling anymore. I was not alone, even if I couldn't see what was with me. The stairwell down. The farther I went, the more the school changed. Ceilings lower, lights dimmer, walls narrower, and eventually I found a stairwell. But not up, not to the exit I desperately needed. This staircase went even deeper. Rust-covered rails, cracked steps, a humid, cold draft rising from below. My camera glitched violently the moment I pointed it down. The image tore, pixelated, warped, as if something electromagnetic pulsed beneath the school. A loud pop exploded through the audio, like a blown fuse. I staggered back, heart pounding. But I knew the stairwell was important. The dragging sound that had hunted the hallways wasn't coming up from below. It was waiting for me to come down. I whispered to myself, "This is insane. This is insane." But I started walking down anyway, because there were no other options left. No windows, no doors, only hallways that twisted back into themselves like a knot. There was only forward, only downward, only deeper. The final realization. Halfway down, I stopped because I finally understood something. It wasn't that I couldn't find the exit. It wasn't that the school was rearranging randomly. It was much worse. Brightville High was guiding me. Every hallway, every turn, every locked door, every repeated room. It wasn't trying to confuse me. It was funneling me, directing me, pushing me toward something it wanted me to see. No monster had shown itself yet. Not because it wasn't there, but because it didn't need to. Not yet. Something loomed at the bottom of the stairwell. A pressure. A presence. A patient, hungry awareness, waiting for me to come down, waiting for me to be ready, waiting for me to understand. This wasn't nostalgia. This was a trap. And I had already stepped too far inside. The camera glitched again. The air grew colder, and the dragging sound echoed faintly beneath me. Shh, 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 getting closer. Maybe we can find something.